I would like to introduce our two presenters today and extend a sincere thank you to them for all of the hard work they've put into preparing for this webinar. Sharon Hope is an instructional developer at the University of Albany, and Danielle O'Brien is the Director of Online Learning at Alfred State College. Danielle and Sharon will begin by describing the Ally implementation strategies for their campuses, and will then discuss the top accessibility issues that have been identified in their online courses. Most importantly, Danielle and Sharon have compiled a repository of helpful links and documentation to assist instructional designers, faculty, and staff, not only with their implementation of Ally, but with how to correct and prevent the top 10 accessibility issues going forward. They will be sharing this repository with you at the end of their presentation. Thank you for joining us for the first of 4 boot camp. So thank you for joining us, and I'm going to hand the presentation over to Sharon. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Jamie. I hope everyone can hear me. I'm happy to be here today with you, Danielle, and our audience. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. I'm going to begin with a little background of what is Ally, its interface with faculty and students, and talk a little bit about the top 10 issues identified on participating SUNY campuses. Then I'll talk about UAlbany's implementation plan for Ally, our challenges, and what Ally offers our faculty in terms of making content more accessible. What is Ally? Well, in a nutshell, Ally is a tool that evaluates course content, provides advice and instructions on how to increase the accessibility of the content, and also all of this without changing the original document, automatically creating an alternative version of the content for students. In essence, Ally helps build a more inclusive learning environment. Let's take a closer look at Ally. When Ally evaluates course content, feedback indicators that only faculty can see will appear within Blackboard. Students will only see a down arrow next to a file that will allow them to download an alternative file. As we look at these indicators, we will see that we have a red one, which is severe, which means that the file is not considered accessible and it needs immediate attention. The orange one, which kind of looks yellow on my screen, is somewhat accessible and could use some improvement. Light green means that the file is accessible, but still could be improved somewhat. And dark green, yay, means that the file is accessible with no improvements needed. Okay, let's take a peek at the top 10% of issues identified by Ally for a few of the SUNY campuses. This chart is showing us that the top issue identified is recommended to add a library reference and considered a level 3 issue, meaning that it's just a minor issue that has most likely been identified as a scanned item attached in Blackboard. Ally will advise that a library reference accompany the scanned item to direct students to a document that can be accessed with a document reader. The other top issues, as we can see on the screen, are identified as a level 2 or 3, are mostly decorative images and descriptions, followed by color contrast. None of the issues are identified as level 1, which could be a severe issue, so that's good. We'll discuss these issues in more detail later in the presentation. Let's now turn to my institution, UAlbany, where I'll discuss our Ally implementation plan. Our mission at UAlbany is to cultivate an inclusive learning environment that uses innovative pedagogy delivered in accessible, inclusive settings. Adding Ally to our Blackboard system reinforced our commitment to ensure equal access to online course materials, especially since Ally's features work to support our web content accessibility guideline standards. Accessibility is all about giving every one of our students an equal chance at academic success. So it's important to make online resources information easy for all students to access. All students, meaning not only those students who disclose a disability, but also those students who will benefit from diverse content. In other words, an alternative strategy for learning. For example, the chance to hear content rather than read it. Ally not only provides alternative accessible formats for students, but it also demonstrates to faculty how to make content more accessible. With this in mind, we set in motion our strategic plan to deploy Ally on our campus. Our strategic plan began by teaming up with other campus representatives, since accessibility is an important initiative for our institution as well as others, I should say. We set out to share our goals and objectives with our stakeholders and to offer initial professional development activities. Since our strategic plan has more to come, our plan is to continue supporting content accessibility. Let's take a closer look at our strategic plan. We knew that, whoops, I'm sorry. Where am I? We knew that it was important to involve others before, during, and after our rollout. We began by having meetings with key stakeholders on the campus. Our initial meetings were with our Disability Resource Center. We wanted them to experience Ally and then offer us feedback about the tool. We also set up meetings with ITLAU, which is our Institute for Teaching, Learning, and Academic Leadership office. And this office works closely with faculty who are designing new courses. We also met with our Assistant CIO for Strategic Communications, as well as our Marketing Communications Director. We wanted to vet the reactions of Ally from our colleagues. With a consensus that Ally was a desirable initiative for the college, we then proceeded with our rollout plan. We opted not to conduct a formal pilot. We decided to enable Ally in our June 2018 summer session courses, which was a small cohort of about 150, mostly online courses, to test the waters. Then in late June of 2018, we enabled courses from previous semesters for our full faculty to review prior to enabling the new fall 2018 courses at the very end of July. Enabling Ally in stages provided faculty with the opportunity to review Ally prior to activating it in all courses. Of course, we communicated with stakeholders at each stage. Let's take a look at our communication plan. We wanted to ensure a very clear messaging strategy. We communicated to faculty and students as soon as Ally was deployed in the first summer courses. We sent out several emails, posted announcements in Blackboard, and created documentation in our wiki pages for faculty and students to review. In addition to the Disability Resource Center Director, the Disability Resource Center Director sent out a message to all faculty who had students that had disclosed a disability. We also wanted to make sure that we emphasized that Ally indicators were only visible to faculty and that Ally was a tool to support inclusive learning. On the next slide is an example of our wiki page that we had posted to faculty and students. Along with various communication channels, we also expanded our teaching and learning efforts by holding a tech expo and offering webinars and workshops on Ally. Of course, we experienced a few challenges along the way. Faculty asked, what are these colored dials that I'm seeing in my course? What am I supposed to do with them? Can my students see them? Within our individual consultations, we answered the questions. Our top 5 identified issues included images that were missing descriptions, PDFs that were untagged or scanned, color contrasting issues, and table headers that were missing, along with the top issue that was also disclosed by the SUNY system, which were language preferences. When faculty clicked on an icon next to their content in Blackboard, Ally responded. This image does not have a meaningful alternative description. Faculty would then click on what this means and how to write a description. We emphasize that Ally not only flags files that may need revisions to improve accessibility, but also demonstrates to faculty how to make content more accessible. Let's take a closer look at what faculty were experiencing. On this screen, Ally shows that that an image is only 25% compliant. So this is what a faculty would see once they clicked on one of the little icons that represented that there was an issue with their image. Then, once they click on those links, Ally then describes why an alternative description is important. As you can see, Ally is kind of guiding the faculty along. Ally then described to the faculty how they can write a good description and gives examples for each. For example, if there was a picture or if there was wording within a picture, how do you write a good description for a table or a picture image here or a decorative item within your Blackboard course. So what's next for UAlbany? Our plan, Our plan is to continue to assist faculty to ensure that the content in Blackboard is accessible. We see Ally as helping to raise the awareness of the value of accessible content in alternative formats for student success. Enabling Ally is a positive step towards inclusivity. I want to thank you for listening, and I hope our implementation of Ally offers you some ideas. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have at the end of the presentation. Thank you for listening, and sorry my voice is a little crackly today. I have a little bit of a cold, so I hope everyone could hear me fine. I'm now going to turn the presentation over to Danielle O'Brien from Alfred State College, and Danielle will explain Alfred State College's implementation plan for Ally, and she'll discuss ways to fix some of the common accessibility issues. Danielle?
Thank you. Okay, I'm just trying to get my presentation here to our slideshow again. Can everyone see that? Hopefully. All right, I'll move through. So at Alfred, this was a quote that our intern worked on some courses with our faculty with, and she really loved Ally as a tool. She got to work pretty intently with it, and I'll talk a little bit about what her work was later. But it was just really neat to see someone who was able to work with Ally and really loved it and loved the alternative formats that were provided, as well as the workflows for faculty. So we implemented Ally really for a number of reasons. The first was that we wanted to give our faculty members a real tool to address some of the accessibility concerns that were happening nationally. So institutions are being sued, and there's a lot of kind of bad press sometimes about institutions not taking accessibility seriously. Oh, you're seeing that side by side. Oh, I don't know how I can change that. How's that? Better, hopefully. So we wanted to maintain compliance, but we really wanted to give our faculty a tool that made it easy for them to make good decisions about creating accessible content. And because not all of our faculty are expert accessibility folks, we knew that there was no way to train everyone on how to make accessible content. So Ally really became a resource that helps walk faculty through how to make content accessible in a pretty easy and straightforward way. We also loved the fact that through Ally, students gained that access to a variety of formats. Our students here really, really love the audio format that they can download to their computer, take to the gym. They lift weights while listening to an article. I know it seems kind of crazy that they would do that, but they really are taking advantage of that audio format. So we had an implementation timeline as well. Last summer, 2018, we created a communication plan. The instructional designer in our office actually created it and did a phenomenal job. That is one of the resources we will share with you at the end of the presentation. We also set out to communicate with all of our summer faculty, and very much like UAlbany, we activated Ally in all of our summer courses. So our students had access to the alternative formats, and our faculty had access to the workflows that could help them make some of the corrections. We also then at the end of summer activated Ally in all of our fall courses. So during the fall 2018 semester, we continued communicating with our faculty. We have an announcement that goes out daily. We sent some specific emails to folks, and we have professional development sessions that were around the implementation of Ally at the beginning of the semester to help folks kick off, and then a couple throughout the semester to help them stay engaged with Ally and continue using it. We also worked with individuals and offered group sessions. So if different departments wanted us to come in, we could do specific department training that's more appropriate for the types of content that they use in their program. We also were very, very lucky to work with our accessibility services office, and she had an intern. Mary was our intern, who worked with faculty who volunteered to have her make their courses more accessible. So the big selling point was for these faculty, you don't have to do all the work. Mary's going to do it for you. And we had some faculty take her up on that. They really had a great experience working with her. Mary learned a lot in her internship, and all of the courses that she touched and worked on became highly accessible. At the end, she did a whole report over her increase in accessibility scores for each of the content items as well as the courses overall. And it was very impressive with the amount of work that she did, how much gain she made on the accessibility in these courses. So this spring, we actually are going to have another intern that's going to work with our nursing department. And our nursing department, many of you know, there's a lot of content in nursing. So we're looking forward to having a lot of that become more accessible. We're also hosting focus groups for both students and faculty. And from the student point of view, we're really looking to find out how are they using it Is there an easier way to use it? We know that that little button is kind of hidden for them, so how do we help students become more informed? Then the faculty focus groups were looking at the workflows. How are they working? Do they really give them the information that they need? Are there things that can be improved? And we're actually working with the Blackboard folks, and we're going to be providing them some feedback there. So it will be, I think, really useful for everyone to get some of that feedback from the ground floor, our students and our faculty, and then be able to provide that back to Blackboard. Our presentation, we will do one to Faculty Senate this semester. It was originally slated for fall, but we did push it back just because we still need to get in those focus groups, and we want to give them a full picture of how the campus is feeling about Ally. But anecdotally, everyone seems very happy with it. It really has not been intrusive, which was one of our concerns, that folks wouldn't really love seeing the gauges in their course. But everyone's been very open to it, and I think with the accessibility conversations that have been happening on our campuses for the past 10 plus years, it wasn't a surprise to them that we had a tool that was actually going to help them address it. And this spring, we are also creating a sustainability plan. So we are going to be able to look 3 to 5 years out and talk about how we're going to continue to keep faculty engaged with Ally and continue to help courses and programs become more accessible in a way that really kind of promotes the student experience here at Alfred. So Karen, our intern's major was human service management, actually. She was going into the human service field and found a lot of value in her reflection, actually, about she didn't really know a whole lot about accessibility or the importance of things being accessible. And she said that now going into her field, when she's making flyers and pamphlets and web pages, that she has an eye for accessibility that she probably wouldn't have had before. So it really was a really nice pairing. I would highly recommend that. So our team of folks who really worked on implementing Ally spanned the whole institution, as well as SUNY iTech, Blackboard, Open SUNY, and then all of the great resources and things that we were able to share. So this is kind of our list of folks. We also had some departments who were highly engaged. Like I said, the nursing department is really looking forward to working with the intern this semester. Our criminal justice department, as well as our business department, really kind of grabbed Ally and found its use very early on, so that was nice. So we did create a bit.ly for you. Feel free to join us over there. I will be opening it at the end of my slides. It's the bit.ly/Ally, which is capital, and then share, which is all lowercase. The communication plan is in there, and really just to highlight a couple things, we had our provost was one of the main pieces that I think really made Ally work on our campus. Our provost was willing to send out an email at the beginning of the fall semester that kind of set the tone for, this is a tool that we have. We really want you to use it. It's not a requirement. We're not looking at your gauges or your percentages or comparing faculty, anything like that. She really explained that well, but then did go into the why this is really important for our students and how we really hope that that faculty are going to use it. So that email was very important. So we did have some training and workshops. Like I said, the professional development week, we always welcome folks in to our individual consultations. They can book an appointment with us. We had some semester workshops and department trainings, but we also highlighted the SUNY and the Blackboard webinars that were about Ally and made sure that our faculty were aware of those. And that was really nice because then they didn't have to just hear it from us. They could also kind of hear it on a larger scale and know that there are a lot more people who are working on a similar project in other institutions. We did make a few changes to our training and our workshops because of the implementation of Ally. And one of the big pieces was we always told our faculty to post all of their documents as PDFs because it was easy, it was mobile friendly, and it was relatively accessible, and so they didn't have to worry about their students changing anything on their documents, especially syllabi or direction sheets, those kinds of things. And now we've really taken a turn and we're telling them that Ally really prefers Word documents to be posted up because it converts them into the PDF format and other formats for the students. And Word has a lot of the underlying code that Ally can look at and interpret very, very easily. So we've kind of made that change in our training, and it is a little, I mean, we've really been pushing that PDF for a few years now, so kind of going back on that and letting everyone post their Word documents again is a change. It's just a change. And we've explained why to them. Images also, we used to just show them, here's how you put in an image, go to build content in Blackboard and pick your image, and you're good, click submit, it's all set. Now we take a little more time and put more intention into the fact that there needs to be alt text on the image. So we show them that text box, we explain what needs to be in the title of the image versus the description of the image and when a description is necessary. So with images, we kind of put a little more detail into what should be in there when we upload an image. And then we've really been encouraging our faculty to link to library databases using the permalinks that they have. So any of you who have talked to your librarians probably know that a lot of our faculty will find the article that they love, they download it as a PDF, and then they post it into Blackboard. And we found that first, the library doesn't get the credit for every time the students click on that. So with so many of us trying to keep our library databases and our funding for those kinds of things, we really want to link back to those original library databases using permalinks if at all possible. And this was one of the most common things that was SUNY-wide, but we also see it here at Alfred, that those PDF documents that have either been scanned or downloaded really could be linked into a permalink. So some of our implementation challenges here at Alfred, we had anticipated the need to assist faculty in making some of those changes, but we didn't really anticipate how much work goes into making some of the edits. It seems simple when you just say, oh, we'll go through your document and put style headings on or change the styles of your headings. And when you have one syllabus, that's not a whole lot. But when you have a whole course or multiple courses full of documents, it can be a really time-consuming process. So we found that we really needed to help faculty just stay motivated and know that the work that they're doing really matters to students. And it's not just a compliance issue, it's really an experience issue. And in order for us to really give that the best experience to our students and allow them to use Ally as a tool to its fullest extent, the work that they're doing really does matter. So that was one of the things that I think, didn't realize how much positive we were going to have to put on it. Then educating the campus and communicating the values. So that goes along the same lines, but really educating the campus as a whole. So our accessibility services office, our advisors, our academic advising center, just letting everyone know that these resources are out there. We talked with our student senate and they made an announcement at their meeting. We hosted a table in our student union and had students walking by, and we'd flag them down and tell them about the cool tools that Ally had. It really was awesome to see the student expression on their face when we told them that they had these tools available, and some of them got incredibly excited and it was a really great afternoon that we spent over there talking with students about Ally. So I highly recommend getting involved with some student outreach and student education, as well as the faculty professional development that we kind of traditionally do. So also, again, those links to library databases, they are critical. Encourage those for all of your faculty. And then find unique and cool and interesting ways to engage your students. On all of your campuses, there's different organizations and different clubs and ways that you can reach out to students. So find what fits for your campus and figure out how you can really promote the use of Ally. Because if our faculty do all of this work to create accessible content, it's really nice for them to know that the students are actually using it on the other end. So let's talk a little bit about fixing those common accessibility issues. So these are the top 10 that were from SUNY, and I think this represented around 21 campuses, the folks that are participating in the pilot, and it's all aggregated data, so no one's looking at any particular campus or comparing campuses or anything like that. We wanted to kind of put that out there just so that it was really clear that this was just a whole chunk of everything that was put together. So I'm going to jump into that bit.ly right now. I think that they can change what I'm sharing right here. So in our folder, we did actually end up using a lot of Blackboard resources. This was one area that Blackboard did an awesome job in creating documents and help documents that were very, very helpful to our faculty. So for example, the adding headings to a document, it explains a little bit about why this is important, which a lot of our faculty are curious about when we tell them, oh, well, you have to put headings in your document. It's like, okay, well, why? What's the point in this? What does someone get out of me going through and putting all of these headings in my documents? So it's nice that they give a little description about why this is important, and it sets its place in the accessibility world. Then it comes down and it shows the different options for headings. It almost always gives a Microsoft Word or Microsoft, whatever product it is, link into the help pages and how to make things more accessible and how to add headings. So here it has Word, an Office Writer, and then it shows you how to save the file, and then using the Ally workflow, the faculty will upload it right here back into their course, and it automatically replaces the document for them. So they don't have to go into a content item, delete the file, and then repost it. It automatically just switches the document out for them, which is really nice. And if they use the workflow, then it counts into all of your institutional information about Ally, your increases in Ally usage. So it's always a good thing if we can encourage faculty to use the workflows that are there. And that's something I guess I want to say, because we're having the conversation now about how we're going to use some of our institutional reporting. And we're really moving very slowly and trying to be cautious about what we choose to use as far as statistics and data from that, because we do know that if a faculty member learns that they need to put headings in their document, for example, that the next time that they create a document, they're more likely to just do that from the beginning. So it won't necessarily increase our Ally scores, but it will increase the overall accessibility of the courses in our Blackboard environment. So just kind of take all of those data points with a grain of salt when we're looking at faculty, and be careful how that's used at an institutional level if we're looking at that. So also in here, I did say that we had our Ally communication plan. So this is the one that we made for Alfred State. It has our audiences that we were targeting, our timelines, kind of how we rolled everything out, different correspondence emails that were sent. And like I said, our instructional designer put this together and did an absolutely wonderful job. We also included some toolkits pieces here. These are all links to Blackboard sites that were really helpful. They have videos and kind of one-sheets for faculty, and then things that went out into our general announcements, and some kind of Q&A that we got, some common questions, and then sort of how we answered them. So all of that is in the box. If you have any questions about the communication plan, feel free to reach out to us. We are happy to talk more about it and chat about how it was created. We also have one homegrown document that we really created just for students to show how easy it is. You know, they find their file, they can open the alternative formats menu, and then they can pick whatever they want to. And the audio file is our current favorite feature, so we did note that. And then the rest of these are all Blackboard help documentation, but they are for the top 10 issues that we see. So now I think we have about 10 minutes for questions. I can put the slides back up and switch this. So Jamie, were there any questions that came up that we should address right away? Or Sharon, did you see anything?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself.
I'm sorry, I just unmuted myself too. Just someone was asking about using a Mac, and I was responding to them that if they're using Microsoft, that it would work the same way.
And there were a couple other issues, but I think you addressed them, except for Karen asked, who trained the intern?
Oh, yes. So here at Alfred, I worked with the intern, but honestly, I can't say that I trained her. You know, she did a lot of the legwork and finding out the details of what exactly needed to be changed. So between the workflows and help documentation that we found, she really took it on herself. She has a great binder. Maybe I can scan that in, and I can add that to the resources that we shared with everyone. I can do that in the next day or so. So look for it there. But she kind of curated some resources of her own, but for the most part, we really used that Ally workflow, and she kind of got into a rhythm and really figured it out. So we were lucky to have her as our first intern for sure. She was very self-motivated in that way. I don't know if that helps. But she also had our accessibility coordinator and myself as options, resources to talk to.
As Jamie mentioned, Blackboard does have some good documentation. There's a couple of sites within Blackboard that really talk about the flow of going through and making something very accessible.
Also, Karen had asked a question before about the color contrast. Mm-hmm. And the lack of documentation from Ally, as we all know, when that item gets identified.
I agree, that's one area that's a little bit lacking, but I think it's pretty much the only one that I've seen. Color, I think, is hard as far as, you know, it'll take you to the web color contrast issues and how to fix them there.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference between also, and Karen may have referenced this too, the contrast between the text and the background, which is one thing. Like on, you know, our slides, for example, we have black text on a white background, which is, you know, highly contrasting colors. If we had light gray on white, it might be a little more difficult for folks to see. So that's one form of contrast. The other form we see being flagged in some scanned documents. So many of you may have seen a copy that has been copied and copied and copied many times, and it starts to get that grainy kind of gray background that, you know, it's still technically black on white, but has this gray shading over it. So that can be a contrast issue as well for students who may be looking to see something. So there's different kind of versions of and things to be aware of when you're looking at contrast of documents.
Sorry, I'm looking through the chat just to see what else. Can we,
No problem.
Danielle, can you get us to the slide that has the top 10 issues?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
That would be, sorry, go back to here. There we go.
There were a couple questions about campuses that don't use Blackboard and Ally, and asking about other options for that. A lot of the issues that get identified by Ally are actually Microsoft products or Adobe, and those products themselves have accessibility checkers within them. So that's one workaround if you don't have access to Ally, is just to use those accessibility checkers in Microsoft and see what gets identified that way.
Jamie and I actually took the PowerPoint and ran it through to make sure through the Microsoft, in addition to putting it through Ally.
Yes. Yep. And that's, Jamie, is that what the sessions a little later this week are going to be on too?
Correct. There's
kind of in more detail.
Yeah, there's a Microsoft workshop that focuses on the accessibility tools that they have within those products that will help you even if you don't have Ally, if you do have Ally, to help identify those issues and how to change them.
Yeah, and the Microsoft Accessibility Checker has come a long way in the past few years too. I mean, it's much better at identifying the things I think that accessibility experts are looking for, which makes me not have to be an accessibility expert because I can run it through that checker and fix the things that it tells me to. And then things tend to score pretty well in Ally when they have met all of those standards in Microsoft. Why use Ally? That's a great question, Shirley. So I can talk about why we do it at Alfred, and then I'm sure Sharon can share with you with Albany. For us, it's really an ease of use thing, right? Our faculty tend not to run the accessibility checker when they finish creating a document, but when they have a workflow right in Blackboard that explains to them and walks them through step by step exactly how to do it, we're seeing that they're more likely to use it. So for us, they have options and they have multiple tools that they can use, but Ally just makes things so streamlined that we really, it's in the place that they are, and it's not another thing that they have to do. They see the gauge, they're like, oh yeah, that reminds me, I need to go make this document accessible. I forgot. So it's a lot better than me sending them emails every couple of weeks to remind them to check their accessibility. Sharon, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Danielle, I'm sorry. Danielle, yes. In addition, Ally will also generate the alternative formats. So even if it's just not looking at the accessibility of a particular document, it'll also provide an alternative format for students. So I like to stress that, sometimes students' learning styles is better if they can listen to a document as opposed to reading it. So Ally will do that. So it's not only checking the accessibility, it's giving that alternative format for students.
Absolutely. And for any campuses that have a high ESL population, this is really something that is huge for those students because they often aren't diagnosed with a disability, they just have English being their second language. And being able to auditorily listen to something that they're also visually reading increases their comprehension. So to give them the tools and the ability to do that with almost no extra work for the faculty member is a huge reason to be able to use Ally.
And that also brings it to mind another product they're going to be talking about. It's called Microsoft Translator. That is a language-to-language translator. It's really amazing. It's not a word-to-word, but it translates conversation, really. And they'll be presenting that later this week at that Microsoft Accessibility webinar. It's amazing.
Yeah, that will be a good webinar. I've seen a
Yeah.
little bit about how that works. It's exciting.
Yeah, very exciting.
Any other
Okay.
questions?
Any other questions? Oh. Yeah, Chris.
Yes, Chris, that's a very good point. Very good point. Other options besides Ally, we have not seen another product that does what Ally does. I don't know if there's another one out there.
I've been looking at Read Speaker. Is another software package that will do a little bit of what Ally does, but Ally works really well.
Great. So was anybody surprised at what those top 10 issues were for those of you who've already implemented Ally on your campus, or for those of you who haven't implemented Ally but still are still dealing with accessibility issues? Did any of these top 10 surprise you?
Decorative image, yeah.
Yeah.
PDFs, yeah, I think we see a lot of the PDFs, and it's helping our faculty to transition to either using library databases or find some other way to get that document out there.
Yeah, scan documents.
Yeah. I think when I was working with a faculty member this summer, the one that was most prevalent was the headings presence in Word. She had a lot of Word documents in her course, just as many as the images. Yeah, the untagged images. It's good to know that everybody's experiences seem to be lining up. Good. Do we have any other questions for Sharon and Danielle today? Oh, I'm looking at the accuracy rate in Ally. I'm not sure I understand how to answer that question, Danielle. Sharon?
I'm not
sure.
So Ally seems to be very good at flagging if we're talking about images that need to be tagged, or documents that don't, like if they're not OCR compliant, but Ally is not actually putting in the tags. The faculty member still has to fill in those words. I'm not sure if I understood that correctly. And Kate, to your point, no, we are not giving faculty deadlines to be compliant.
Neither are we.
It is a work in progress that will be forever evolving, I believe.
I think part of the messaging is just to let people know that it creates an inclusive environment for people. It's not supposed to be a negative. It's supposed to be a way to create that atmosphere in your classroom, whether it's online or face-to-face, that's inclusive.
Correct. I think we all continue to learn how to make our courses more accessible. It'll be continuing effort.
Okay, so I'm guessing I think that it looks like you did answer that question, Danielle, the way she needed it to be answered.
Okay, great. Well, if anyone does come up with any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm sure that Sharon and I are happy to answer them offline.
Yeah,
well.
great. And I'll put something in Workplace so we can continue the conversation if people want to, with the link to the bit.ly, and we can go from there. So thank you again for joining us for the first of the 4 boot camp webinars this week. It was supposed to go in line with the SUNY Chancellor's address, but she had to reschedule that this week. If you want to join us later this week, we have more webinars focused on accessibility solutions with Microsoft, Tableau data visualizations, and the project management tool that we all have access to through SUNY, which is OneNote. I'll include the registration link here in the chat for people. And thank you again to Danielle and Sharon for pulling this presentation together, and I hope that it was helpful for everybody, and I look forward to seeing you guys again on Wednesday. Thanks, everybody.